Hello, everyone. My name is Corey, and
And I am Robert.
this is the I've Got a Bad Feeling About This podcast.
Get ready.
And you might be wondering to yourself, what is this podcast? Well, it's going to be a book club, essentially, where Robert and I are going to read through Star Wars books, certain chapters at a time, and then talk about it because we're both major Star Wars nerds. Isn't
As
that
we
right?
are.
Um, a little bit about us. Robert, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah. Star Wars fan my whole life, you know. Met Corey in college. We both went to the same school. The first time I met Corey was was it freshman year. We
Yeah.
had a mutual friend that I lived next to in the dorms. And just randomly Corey wanted to start a Star Wars club. And Nolan was like, "Oh, Robert's also a Star Wars fan." And I kid you
This
not,
guy's a
I
nerd
looked at
too.
him and I said, "Do you want to see my posters
Oh,
that are hung up in my room?" And you're like, "Yeah."
yeah, man. I
And
did.
then became the infamous tale of us.
Pretty much. Yeah, because you was that at the time that you didn't have a roommate?
Yeah, because my roommate had he dropped out after the first year or
Yeah.
first
So
semester.
you
First
were like
semester.
you were
So,
rocking a double room by yourself, and I was
oh
like,
yeah.
the first thing I thought was, well, that's not fair. Um, but yeah, and then I think you had did you have one of your Lego there too? Like your Grievous one? Or was that later that
Yeah,
you got that
yeah.
one?
I had the Grievous
Yeah. So I was
chilling.
like, all right, I'm digging the poster. And then I was like, I'm digging the Star Wars Lego. This dude might actually be a fan. And then we just kind of blossomed from there. Um,
Pretty much.
'Cause you started working in the scene shop, for the theater
Second
that
semester,
second
freshman
semester,
year.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
that's whenever.
I was supposed to get hired the first semester, but John Krylis.
That's just how our theater department ran, bro.
Oh man. Yeah.
'Cause yeah, I started working the second semester too, but it was like midway through Little Women. So I
Yeah.
didn't even know that you were
Oh,
working in the theater. That
that's
was
right.
stuff that I found out. And then I started working my sophomore year, my first like sophomore year is whenever I actually started working in the scene shop. Because I
Yeah.
was like, I need financial aid. Please, I need something. And then it blossomed from there, and we ended up getting no work done. So,
Pretty much.
yep. Anytime any Star Wars news came out, we didn't get any work done that day.
Oh.
I remember
But
that.
I mean
I remember that one time we were painting. I think it was for Rocky. We were painting, and we just had the Star Wars, like the Ultimate soundtrack playing, and we were just
yeah.
like trying to name off what what movie it was from, and it would be
Yeah.
like the main theme, and we'd be like, oh, well, this one you can tell it's from Empire Strikes Back because of this last bit before it goes in. And then I remember Craig walking in and being like, y'all are never going to get girlfriends. And I am very happy that I am able to say I proved Craig wrong with that.
Yeah. Same.
So, um, let's see. We've watched all of the recent Star Wars together,
In
besides
theaters.
Solo
Yeah.
in
Solo is over
theaters.
summer.
Because,
But
yeah, Solo was the only one in May, and it came out on my birthday.
first showing possible, we'd go see it.
Yes. And then it became like a thing because we ended up, I mean, the longer knew each other, the more our lives grew, and we ended up with like girlfriends, and we ended up with a group of people that for some reason were hanging out with us for Star Wars stuff. I mean, they all liked Star Wars, but like not on the same level.
Yeah.
It's
Who
like they
was it?
liked us or something. It's like they were our
It's
friends.
like Jordan, Maddie,
Uh,
Molly.
I feel like Jordan would be Jordan's up there
Yeah,
with Star
yeah,
Wars.
yeah.
I would say
But
he
yeah,
knows.
we did have quite a little group with us.
We had a whole group, man. We
It
even
was the dinner at 5 crew. Dinner at 5.
yes, because we had rehearsal at 6, and so we had to eat dinner at 5 to actually have sustenance going into rehearsal. And then I would,
Another side note.
I would eat dinner again after rehearsal
Yeah,
at like 10. So
yeah. We are also both theater people,
yes.
theater nerds.
Hmm.
Um,
We should make a Star Wars musical. It would never go anywhere because obviously we can never get the rights to that. But
that'd be fun.
do like a Star Wars musical, but it not be about like the Star Wars stuff. Like we'd have to write a new work, you know?
Yeah, we
But
could
then
write dialogue.
Vader walk by or like walk in the background. Be like, oh look, that was Vader. That's how you know it's Star
Cameo.
Wars. But
But
anyways,
yes, that's the story of us.
that's the story of us, and we're
Fun
growing.
fact: Corey's signature is on my marriage license
That's true.
forever.
That's true. I am one of your witnesses. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Cause
it's like don't mess up.
I like pulled in, like landed, and we were driving back.
Yep.
Did we do it the day of or was it the day before?
A day before, I think.
Yeah, because we had arrived. Oh yeah, because we arrived
Yeah,
um in like
the
Faith.
sketchy motel
Yes, which I
and
was fine with because
the bowling alley that
6 foot
didn't work.
I'm a 6 foot 260 pound man, and I wasn't going to be out walking around the hotel. But then the rest of the people from TU that were at your wedding that were staying all picked that hotel too, and they were like, Corey, why did you pick this hotel? I was like, I didn't know people were going to pick it with me. I picked it because I am cheap and I'm only going to be here a night. Because, yeah, whenever after your wedding, I don't know if you ever knew this, after your wedding, I literally slept at the airport.
Wait, did you really?
Yeah, Windsor drove me to the airport and we got there around like 2 a.m. and my flight wasn't until 6 and like security wasn't even open at the Tulsa airport. So I had to literally I would sleep in like 15-minute bursts because I was so worried that security was going to come and tell me, "Hey, you can't sleep here, you bum," and kick me out of the airport, and I'd miss my flight. So I'd like fall asleep, and then I'd like wake up and be like adjust my bag to make it look like I'm just resting my eyes, and then I would and then at 6 I think they opened it up at like 5 o'clock or like 4:45. They finally had security open. And I went through and slept at the gate. But yeah, that was wild
That
because I
is
had to come
wild.
back because I had work, and I was like, "Yep, there you go. The things I do for you, bro. Things I do for you.
Man, good times.
Great
But yeah,
times.
so now we're making a book club podcast.
Yes, because we love Star Wars and we love reading about Star Wars.
Yeah,
Um,
make that distinction.
yes, I think this is actually the most actual reading. Not the most, because it was just 5 chapters so far, but it's like the most like excited I was about reading something. Probably because it wasn't an assignment. I definitely hated reading in school because I was like, I want to read the book because I want to read the book, not because you want me to read the book. And pretty much any teacher could that I've ever had could attest to that. That I was very lazy when it came to reading assignments. I'd pretty much just skim it. Let my wit take me in. But anyways, so with that being said, I'm sure everyone's wondering what book we're going to be reading first, and we decided we recorded a whole episode, and
Yeah,
you couldn't hear Robert,
unfortunate. That
and
was quite sad.
it was the best content you've probably ever gonna see. Maybe someday we'll release like a blooper reel just of that video. But we already made our decision about what we're going to read. We had a whole list, and I mean, someday you'll find out about the list. But for now, we're going to be reading Thrawn by Timothy Zahn because for me, it's probably my favorite Star Wars book that I've ever read.
I agree. I've also read it, and it's a good one to start off with, I think,
Yes,
because we're familiar with it, kind of get into the groove of
yes.
the whole
And then we can
cadence.
do books that we've never heard of and
Yeah,
have our honest opinion. This is a nice little taster to see if we can actually pull this off. But
yeah.
anyways, so we're going to be reading Thrawn. So Robert and I have already read the first 5 chapters. So spoilers to anyone that wants to read along with us. It's okay though because the first 5 chapters are just introductory and nothing really happens until you start to get to chapter 6.
Yeah,
So there you go.
think of a Dave filler episode.
Yes.
That's the first 5 chapters.
Yes. We get introduced to the main 3 characters of the book because surprise, surprise, it's not just about Thrawn. We get some major name dropping, and we already have some like scheming going on and some tactics going on. And I
Yes.
just want to show this off because I got him out for a reason. But I have my Thrawn Funko Pop. He's
Man,
probably
I
my
gotta
favorite.
look to see if we have any General Grievous books.
He's probably, bro. You're gonna have to be the one that writes it. Honestly, there's not gonna be. Yeah, in case you can't tell, Robert's little moniker there is Grievous, so it's his favorite character. Um,
Well, there's a book, so
is there?
I'm adding it to our list.
What's it called?
Star Wars General Grievous.
When
I
was it?
think it's like
When was it written?
2006.
Oh, okay, so it's not canon. It's not new canon, which doesn't matter. We're gonna read books that are not canon. I don't care. Some of these books are
Hmm,
amazing, and I don't care. So yeah, we'll read. Hey, we're gonna read Grievous just for you, and hopefully it makes him a better character than some books do to these characters.
I know. Sad.
Okay, so I guess we're just gonna dive right in. We'll alternate. We'll go through each chapter, and we'll just give a little summary, and then we'll have our thoughts for each chapter, and then we'll just keep going. Once something sticks out, we'll talk about it. So in chapter 1, we get introduced to Eli Vanto. He's from the boonies of the Star Wars universe, so he's from the outer. He's like from the outer rim,
Yeah.
because he's like right next to the unknown spaces, right?
Yep.
Because that's how he
Yep.
knows about the Chiss. Anyways, we get
Cadet first
introduced to Eli
class.
Vanto, um, and he's basically on this what's it called? Not an expedition, like an investigation team
Yeah,
to
that's a good way to put it.
this planet. I don't even remember what the planet is. It doesn't matter. We're never going to go back to this planet. He's on this investigation team. They get to the planet. It's very like Predator. Did you ever watch Predator? The 80s movie?
Uh, no, but I know. I remember
You've
in
seen the movies.
elementary school, Alien versus Predator.
Well, it's not going to be the same. That's what in my head. So the jungle. I'm trying to think of a. I guess Jumanji would be the most recent
Hmm.
movie that has like
Yeah.
that sort of jungle in it.
Yeah.
So like that's what I'm imagining this planet is like. It's like very jungle, and like Eli is like noting that there's a whole bunch of like weird stuff going on this planet, which is why
Yeah.
they're investigating it. And then they eventually they keep running into a bunch of booby traps, like primitive slash super high, like super like sophisticated traps. Like it's not all primitive. Like they step like it's not like an Ewok booby trap.
Yeah.
There's some thought to it, like the stormtrooper scarecrow that is made and stuff. But Eli's like, what's going on this planet? And then eventually they come across this alien dude. No, he like sneaks aboard the ship while they're distracted. They're like, there's like a bomb, and this alien sneaks aboard their boarding ship, their like landing craft, and then they surround him, and he gets captured. He's been caught. We'll say he was captured by the Empire. Oh, Eli is a ensign, or he's a cadet.
He's a first cadet.
Yeah, he's
Oh, what is it?
the bottom of the
Cadet first
totem
class.
pole.
Yep. Cadet first class.
Cadet Eli Vanto. Um, so he's with the Empire. He's training with the Imperial forces. So the
Fun
Empire has this
fact,
planet.
he speaks languages.
He can speak pretty much all the languages because of the the trading that happens in the Outer Rim. So
Yep.
he also knows, hint hint, about a lot of unknown species that come through and stop at the cantina, and he sees them and that sort of thing. So anyways, this alien gets captured on the ship, and they're like, were you the one that did all these booby traps? And he was like, yeah, it was me. And they're like, what's your name? Or they're like, do you speak basic?
Yeah.
Which
Kind of
is,
like our version of "Do you speak English?"
no, it'd be the version of, do you speak American?
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So the Empire is very much like, do you speak American to this alien? And the alien's like, he says in his language, like, yes, Cybisti. He says it in Cybisti. He basically says, yes, but it's not my, first language, essentially. And then they ask him, okay, Eli Vanto, the dude from the Boonies, translate for this dude. What's your name? And he goes, Mithron Neurodo. I tried to do this the second syllable, dude. I can't do it. Mithron Neurodo.
Yeah, Mithron Neurodo.
We'll go with that.
Neurodo.
And then
Something like
he says in complete basic, but I'm gonna do a quote. You ready for this? Because
let's
it's
hear
like,
it.
it kind of sets up who this guy is. He says, but I believe it would be easier for you to call me Thrawn. And it's italicized when he says Thrawn.
And then with that line, I hear the organ theme playing in the background from Rebels. Perfect.
Yes. So that is chapter 1. We've met Eli Vanto. If you can't tell, he's one of the main characters. And we have now met Thrawn, who is the second main character. So, what were your thoughts on chapter 1? I think it's a good start. It's very
a good start. It kind of sets up everything. It's got a little bit of action, a little bit of you see
right.
Oh, this book's gonna be a little, there's a bunch of dead people to begin with.
It's not it's not about the Force.
Yeah.
It's not about the Jedi or the Sith. You get a couple of name drops. I'm pretty sure he drops, Coruscant and stuff like that to kind of set you in, Star Wars, that sort of mindset. But
yeah,
I think it's a good introductory. So
yeah, it hooks you in. It's a good hook.
Yes, very much so. Thrawn. So, and then we jump into chapter 2.
Yep. So chapter 2. So we've met Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
And basically now, everything's basically going through, who is this guy? They start talking, get back on their ship, the Steadfast. I think that's what it's called, right?
I think so.
A Strike Fast, I'm sorry.
Oof.
Strike Fast. And Eli very quickly becomes the translator. Surprise, surprise. Who saw that coming? Right.
The only dude on this ship besides Thrawn that speaks Cybisti. So yes, which is funny. Do they not have protocol droids anymore?
That's a good point.
I guess they don't. I mean, I guess they wouldn't take a droid with them to do investigation of this jungle planet. But still, there are droids still in the Empire. But whatever.
Yeah. But so then you kind of see that Thrawn and Eli are going to be, a pair. You start to see their early relationship. They're put together. and they're going on their way to what, Coruscant?
Yeah, he gets Thrawn like says he says like I have something that the Emperor wants, or like I have something to talk to the Emperor about.
Yeah,
Um, and then they relay that to Coruscant, and they're like, "Yeah, bring him here." And
yeah,
it's like a weird like he's their prisoner, but he's not, but he is kind of, you know. They're not treating him
yeah,
like a prisoner, but also he does not have freedom to just go around. Like he has to come with them, you know.
yeah. And I think one of my favorite parts of this chapter is like the realization from Eli of where exactly they're going, right?
Right.
Because like there's that one little chunk of text where he's like, wait, so if the Senate was there and the Royal Academy was there and we're still going, then he's like, oh, we're going to see the Emperor. Like, we're going to the Imperial Palace. This is no small little, shindig that's going on here.
Right. And he's also confused because he was like, who is this guy
Yeah.
that he can say, like, I need to speak to the Emperor? And they're like, okay. Because he's like, you can't. There's no way you can just be like, I need to talk to Palpatine. And then they're like, okay. Like, they would take
Yeah.
him to the. Because Eli at first thought that they were going to be going to Coruscant to, like, ISB to be interrogated.
Yeah.
Because, like, Thrawn was, like, fighting the Empire on his little exile planet. But, yeah.
Yeah. And then, they meet the Emperor, our boy Palpatine, and his first thing he says is, I see you brought me a gift. And
Right.
it's like, okay, so this is how this is gonna go.
That's a turn.
um but then they kind of start talking about that. He says there are threats lurking in the unknown regions. It's kind of honestly like Thrawn's threatening the Emperor and being like, bro, there's stuff out there.
Right.
I
And
will come and destroy you.
yeah, if you don't do anything about it. That's why you
Which, I
need
mean,
me.
you gotta admit, like, the balls on that guy to just not be afraid of Emperor Palpatine, where, this guy is feared in the galaxy. Just walks right up to him and basically gives an ominous threat to the Empire.
Right. Which we know all that Palpatine has done, but this just goes to show in the outer rim, like, and even inside of Coruscant, like the story that was told was that the Jedi overthrew the government essentially, or tried to,
Yep.
and they were destroyed. That
Yeah.
rebel, like, it was snuffed out. Like, so the outer rim and like where Thrawn is even from, like, they wouldn't know that Palpatine, like, kind of did a power move and is this powerful entity. The
Yeah.
Chiss obviously know that, but not in like a, like, it kind of like takes Palpatine back, like aback. He's like, have you not heard of me?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like, I'm the Emperor. You're not hurt. You're not like, you're just acting like this. Okay. He's like, what makes you so special?
Yeah. And then we get the big reveal at the end of the chapter where Palpatine's basically like, or I'm sorry, Thrawn says, you know, where is it? Perhaps your servant can speak of the strength of that vow, the vow that Thrawn will serve the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And, and the Emperor's like, my servant? Who are you talking about?
Which one?
And then he says, uh, he always spoke very highly of Chancellor Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just drops it. Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker. It's
Yeah.
such a power play by Thrawn because we know he knows exactly what he's doing.
Right. But we don't know. that he knows Anakin.
Yeah.
That's brand new information for us, is that this dude knows Anakin, but
Wild.
he also doesn't know that Anakin is dead.
Yes.
And he said, he's kind of going off of old information, because he's like, he always spoke very highly of Chancellor Palpatine. So he's kind of like a little bitty dig at Emperor Palpatine. He's like, when I heard of you, you were just a chancellor. You weren't an emperor. So, I
Yeah.
mean, good on you for moving on up. But yeah. So, because Thrawn basically tells him, let me work for you in the Empire, and together we can face this threat that's coming from the unknown regions. And the Emperor's like, well, are you going to be loyal to your people or loyal to me? And Thrawn's like, I'm going to be loyal to you.
Yeah. Which
But that
we'll see
name
about
drop,
that. The name drop is what, you're like, okay, this is going somewhere.
right,
Thrawn actually knows some stuff.
right. And it's another ending to the chapter that is very like, it leaves you up here so that you keep reading and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
I thought this was a good chapter. It was a lot of talking. Like it's still a lot of backstory, because now we are getting a lot of Eli and Thrawn talking, and Eli kind of being like, oh, this, it's kind of like Eli is already kind of annoyed by the situation, like you said, because he's like, why am I the translator, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Eli is getting further and further from his like comfort zone, because he was
Yeah.
going to the
He's
academy.
not comfortable.
Yeah, he was going to the academy that was like next door to his house. And now they're in Coruscant, which is literally the furthest place from his house. And he's like, why am I here? You know? So he's kind of got dragged into this situation.
Then that brings us to the beginning of chapter 3.
Chapter 3. I wrote down space racism, but
Yeah.
it's just mostly, well, the first part of it, we get like Palpatine like slowly like the wrinkles on his face like scrunching and stuff whenever he hears Anakin.
Mm-hmm. I
And
like how.
we also hear him his first like of him saying like, oh, Anakin Skywalker fell, um yeah, he's like, Jedi Skywalker survived the war then, and Palpatine's just like, sadly he did not.
Yeah.
Like, and it's one of those things where only a few people, basically Palpatine, um I think
I think Tarkin put it together.
Tarkin knows, but I don't think he's ever actually said it out loud because he doesn't want to lose his position. Um, and then Thrawn doesn't know, but yet we haven't had him interact with Vader for him to know.
Oh.
Basically, we get Thrawn and Palpatine talking about what necessarily he's going to do for Palpatine. And then we find out that he's going to be assigned to the academy, basically the Royal Imperial Academy on Coruscant. Thrawn is, because he needs to learn, at least because he's already proved that he's a tactician and he's got war experience. So then they're just like, you just need to learn how the Empire does things, and then you'll be good to go. So he's going to the academy, and then after everything, Eli's like, perfect. Finally, I'm heading home. See you guys. He's like walking out the door, and they're like, and Thrawn goes, I want Eli to be my translator. And Eli's just like, what the heck, man? Bro, I don't want to be here. But like, Thrawn
Yeah.
asks for it in front of the Emperor. So like, Eli can't say nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, basically what Thrawn wants, he's going to get at this point, because the Emperor has basically said, this guy's good to go. He's going to be my new servant. And yeah, and so now Eli's like, his whole life is falling apart.
Yeah, he can't say no to the Emperor,
And his
basically.
like dreams, he like goes on this whole like soliloquy about his like dreams are done. Like he's like people don't even like come back from the Royal Academy, like they just like quit and like die. And then like he's just he's very much dramatic about it, and Thrawn's just like, I need a buddy, you know. Um, and Eli knows that the Royal Academy is for like tryhards. So like back in the Boondock Academy, it's just a bunch of dudes, a bunch of flyboys, as Luke and Leia and Han would say, that are just doing the academy because it's like the thing. It's like going to the movies in a small town is like the one thing to do.
Yeah,
Um, But at the Royal Academy, it's a bunch of tryhards, and it's a bunch of non-alien tryhards. That was
that's
like
the big
that's
thing.
the space racism. Eli makes it very clear that like Thrawn is going to have a difficult. Well, he doesn't tell Thrawn this, but it's like in his brain he's thinking about he's going to have a hard time because now he's partnered up with Thrawn, who's an alien who is not going to get any sort of love or respect from anybody at the academy, like teachers and students alike, because the Empire is very much toast, like plain white
Especially
toast. Right,
the royalty, you know.
right.
I mean, we
Especially
even
all the
kind of saw that
tryhards.
Andor a little bit. A lot of the the Imperial, like, there's no aliens in
Right,
terms of the Empire.
right. It's just a bunch of dudes, and then you have like that security guy that was all about like, I want to be part of the Empire so badly, and it's like, okay, dude, let's like calm down.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, and so Eli's whole chapter three is basically just Eli like wallowing in his despair for losing his life, essentially,
yeah,
what he wanted to do with his life. So, so yeah, that's pretty much chapter three. Um, Thrawn essentially confirms his deal with the devil. He's going to go to the Imperial Academy. Oh, when they get there, um, the like head person of the academy basically just like throws Thrawn a lieutenant badge and says, "Boom, you're a lieutenant." And it's like, didn't know it was that easy to become a lieutenant. Um, and then Eli tells Thrawn, no, I don't think Eli tells Thrawn to not wear his badge at this point. I think that he's
no,
just
no,
like,
no, not yet. Yeah,
no, he's just like, maybe don't. Um, or he expresses that their life is going to be even worse because Thrawn, like, it's going to look like nepotism, or it's going to look like um,
he's a teacher's
he's
pet.
a or that he's a teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that's where we're set up with for chapter three, and then in chapter four we just take a turn and
yeah. So now we get introduced to a new character,
and a new planet.
completely planet, back to the old planet of Lothal. Anyone who watched Rebels will know this planet. It's where Ezra Bridger is from.
Hmm.
Um, also was a very shining mining colony before the Empire arrived, which ties in perfectly to Arinda Price. Um, also a character from Rebels. But basically, this chapter is kind of setting up her story.
Hmm.
We see where she comes from. We see her connection to Lothal because, you know, eventually in the show Rebels, we see she's the governor of Lothal,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Uh, and we kind of see what's kind of cool in here is that we see currently it's Governor Azadi, which we find out that she basically kicked out, you know, so it's kind of funny there. And
Hmm.
so we see that her family basically has, you know, a mine. Um, they have what is it called, like Dunium?
Dunium. They
Yeah,
find Dunium, which
they find
basically means they
Dunium.
found diamonds in their mind, or they found oil,
Yeah,
if
it's
you want
like,
to
you know,
make it American.
it striking oil, and then boom,
Hmm.
they're rich, right?
Yes.
So the senator of Lothal is basically trying to convince him, like, you know, hey, let me help you help me. If you sell me the mine, guess what? You can come to Coruscant. You know, we're trying to give him that nice little
Well,
what is it?
in between that, you have the governor, so Governor Azadi, which
Yeah,
in Rebels he was a good person, but in this chapter, you're like he's kind of not a cool dude.
yeah, definitely
He
not.
he like sends like one of his little like lackeys to basically try to get her to sell her parents' mine to him, the governor. Um, and then they arrest her parents, or they arrest her mother for like money laundering. The governor's office essentially does. So then she goes to the senator, and yeah, he gives her two choices of how to get her parents out of jail.
Yeah,
But
but so they start talking to what'd you call it, Uvis. How would you say his
yes,
last name?
I don't remember. Hold on. Uh, chapter 4. I would say Uvis.
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 Yeah,
Uvis. He's the
but you're
dude that
right.
gets
Yeah,
sent. Yeah.
Azadi tries to take over Price Mining.
By force, essentially.
Yeah, and you know, love that. Go government.
But then
But
the senator who
swoops on in.
ends up saying like, "Oh yeah, I can help you."
Yeah. And then you see, like, towards the end of the chapter, she says, after years of waiting, knowing it would never happen, she was finally getting off Lothal to
Yes.
Coruscant. Her lifelong dream of leaving Lothal because
Very,
she hated it.
yeah, it's very much like Luke. Like he just wants off the planet.
Yeah.
She's like been here her whole life and has only done one thing. Um. So yeah, at the end of the day, she sells her parents' mine, and I don't think does she tell them, or does she just leave?
Now she leaves and she says,
Yeah, she like makes the deal, and then they're gonna get
her,
sent to
yeah, her parents would accept the senator's terms. She would see to that.
right, and they're going somewhere that we've heard before. I don't remember what it was called though. It's the planet where the
Uh,
droid rebellion happened, right?
oh, yeah. No.
No, or he like threatens that that's where they'll end up or something. But
In
yeah,
Kessel or something like
Kessel.
that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, right. They threatened to send him to Kessel.
yeah. But she accepts her new role. She's basically going to be helping like get people from Lothal established on Coruscant slash in a holistic view. Anybody pretty much moving to Coruscant, she's going to be in charge of getting them settled in and getting them like arranged with like jobs and stuff like that. That's what I got from what they described her work as.
Yeah, and you can kind of see she's already plotting and scheming to move
Yes,
on up in
she
her
she
role.
yeah, she's essentially vowed to come back and end Azadi's career if she can, like ruin
Yeah.
his life.
Yep.
So yeah,
So that's
and
Arinda Price.
right, and that was like a whole. She got her own chapter.
Yeah.
She didn't have to share it
And
with
that
anybody.
brings us to our last chapter of the episode,
And then
chapter
chapter
5.
5. So this one I have it written down as Thrawn's tactical genius. So Thrawn, they are being essentially bullied every day of Eli Vanto's existence. And Eli is fed up with it. He's like, you need to go talk to the headmaster, dude, or you need to whip out your lieutenant badge so that they stop messing with us. And Thrawn's like, we have to wait for the right opportunity to do that. And then they get invited to a poker game, essentially.
Yep.
And Eli's like, that's weird. Do you think that's a trap? And Thrawn's like, it most certainly is. What are we going to do? spring the trap, essentially. They go to the poker game. The other students are basically just kind of like egging Thrawn on. Pretty much, they're trying to get Thrawn to react and pretty much act out so that he's the attacker.
Yeah.
Because they're cadets, so they're not supposed to be playing poker after hours, essentially. And then the students had like a security guard put in on it, and he pops in to catch Thrawn, basically, because of all the people in the room, the person that's going to get in trouble the most is the alien. Back to the space racism.
Yep.
And but as soon as the security guard's like, "What are y'all doing in there?" Thrawn like reaches into his pocket,
Whips out the
puts on his
lieutenant
lieutenant
badge.
badge that he got randomly, and turns around, and the dude instantly is like white as ghost, and is like, "Oh, sorry, sir." He's like, "Y'all aren't supposed to be doing that," and Thrawn's like, "Okay," but he's a lieutenant, so it's like it doesn't matter what you think. And then the two other kids are scared. And then they're walking, and so Thrawn springed the trap of the trappers by laying his own trap, playing mind games, and then they're walking back to their dorm, basically, and they get jumped by some random assailants, and Thrawn is pretty much holding his own against three people, but I mean, he like pushes Eli out of the way and like hurts his wrist or something. And then Eli ends up helping Thrawn for a split second. He was like, if I don't say a word, if I don't make any noise, they're just going to beat the crap out of Thrawn and leave me
And I
alone.
can
And then
go
I'll be
home.
done with this. I'll go
Yeah.
back home and my whole life is back on track.
Yeah.
So he does that at that split second. And then he's like, but no, I'm a good person. So he helps Thrawn. He like throws sand in the dude's eye, and then so Thrawn pretty much like fends off these attackers, and Eli helped. And then at the very end, Thrawn's like, "I think it's now time to play our trump card with the headmaster about these issues that we've been having with these bullies, essentially." And that's how the
Yeah.
chapter ends. Is basically Thrawn saying, "We're heading to Dean Lark's office." Because they're almost done with their training, I feel like. And so Thrawn is
Yeah.
essentially, he knows how the system works at this point. And so he knows now is the actual right time to spring his overall trap for the whole bully situation that they've been facing. So, and I feel
Yeah.
like him and Eli have like a moment at some point where he like calls out Eli and says, "You don't like me," or something like that. And Eli's like, "What? No, I never said that." And Thrawn's like, "Bro, I can like tell." And then Eli like kind of drops it, and he's just kind of like, "No, it's fine. It's not
Yeah.
that I don't like you. I don't like the situation, essentially." And then they become friends, ish. They're still not friends, but you know, when you spend your whole day with someone nonstop as your translator, you're probably gonna end up being friends with them. So yeah.
Yeah. You can just see their relationship growing.
Yeah. And you
But
get to completely see Thrawn show us the tactician, you know?
trap within a trap.
Right. And it's like,
He's always thinking 2 moves ahead.
right. Because like even Eli, whenever he did that, whenever Eli heard the security guard, he was like, "Oh crap, the exact thing that we thought was going to happen is happening." And then Thrawn turned the tables even on Eli and ended up the victor in that scenario.
Except for
So yeah.
getting the crap beat out of him.
Yes, but that was separate. That was a separate trap. Separate trap. It doesn't count. So yeah, your overall thoughts for chapters 1 through 5? It's a good start. Like I said, not
It's a
much
good setup.
happens. It's a lot of introductions.
Yeah, it's a good setup. You know, I think we met all of our characters and it left them on good kind of hooks to see where they go next. Arinda's heading to Coruscant, right? So we're gonna see what that looks like for her.
Right.
Eli and Thrawn are off about to cause trouble, you know.
Yeah. Eli is accepting more of his role with Thrawn, and Thrawn is now setting himself up to have some sort of retribution to the months that he's been dealing with these people.
Yeah.
You can just kind of feel that. So yeah, I like it. I'm excited. I'm glad that we are starting with this book to begin with.
Yeah.
Um,
A solid book.
right. So for those who wish to, I don't know if I said this at the very beginning, but spoilers, I think I did. But those who want to read along and join in the conversation in the comments or whatever, we're going to be reading chapters 6 through 10 next. I don't think we have a timetable for when the next episode is going to come out, but in the next episode, we're going to be doing 6 through 10. But yeah, I remembered about Arinda about halfway, about like at the end of chapter 3. I was like, oh wait, there's the whole Arinda Price story in
Yeah.
this. Because I'm all about Thrawn and Eli the entire time. And then I was like, oh yeah, Arinda. And then they eventually, they all end up crossing because that's how these books work. But to me, I was never that interested in her story about how she gets places. But maybe this time around it'll be different. Maybe reading it
Yeah.
and
I
discussing
mean,
it, I'll have more like brought to light. It's just because I think it's because I'd watched Rebels before, and so like her character in Rebels was just like unlikable, and it was
yeah.
just like I have no reason to want to know anything about you. Thrawn was like, oh yeah, I want to know more about you. You seem really interesting, and yeah. So we'll see.
I felt the same about Price. Like,
Hmm.
I saw Rebels. I was like, I don't like her. She's annoying.
Yeah,
But,
she looks
you know,
like the bad guy from Indiana Jones 4.
he does.
Like very much, like the same haircut, same like design. I don't know if they did that on purpose or what, but
Yeah, you're spot on there.
yeah, it's wild. But yeah. So any other closing thoughts that you have for Thrawn? Now we have to look up this Grievous book.
So I looked it up. It's a comic book series, not a book,
Well, if we're gonna
unfortunately.
do that, we might as well just watch the 2003 Clone Wars because that's gonna give us more depth of Grievous than Episode 3 ever did.
Yeah, back when Grievous was strong.
Dude, he was overpowered in that show. The only time we ever really got that was that one episode where we're in his castle or his lair with Kit Fisto and the Mon Calamari kid that dies.
Oh yeah, R.I.P.
That was like at the beginning of Clone Wars, and then they focused more on like Anakin and the clones. But yeah,
Doesn't he kill someone else too? Well, like he kills one more Jedi.
Grievous kills a lot of people. That's how he has all the lightsabers.
Has a collection.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm excited for Thrawn. I would say Thrawn. Where is Thrawn rank in your like top 5? Like in your favorite Star Wars characters, where is he? He doesn't have to be top 5 if he's not. But like, where is he at for you?
Thrawn?
Yeah.
In terms of villains, he's definitely a top villain. I mean, I like Grievous just because he's cool.
Hey,
But
hold up. We've read this book before,
yeah,
so no spoilers. But like, I don't necessarily consider Thrawn to be a villain. I just think that Thrawn works for the Empire.
just think he's self-motivated.
Yes, he's using. His whole plan for the Empire, if you can't tell, is to eventually use it to help the Chiss
Yeah,
with that.
I
With
mean,
the
he says that when he's
right,
talking to
he
Palpatine,
reveals it.
basically.
So his overall thing is not to become like an Empire diehard, like like um like the dude from Andor or like Crosshair from Bad
Yeah,
Batch. Like he's not
Arkin.
drinking the Kool-Aid. He's just doing what he needs to do to help himself and
An
like help
interesting
his
thought.
people. Which in like retrospect, Does that make him a bad dude? I wouldn't consider him to be a villain. Darth
Tell
Vader?
that tell that to the people he murdered on Lothal.
Okay, those are just stormtroopers. They're just fodder. Like the Emperor himself considers stormtroopers to just be fodder. That's why they all look the same. They have no like they're just there to get shot.
I don't know. I mean, when he orbital bombards Lothal in Rebels.
Okay, yes, I guess.
It's like saying Kylo's not a villain, even though he blew up 3 planets.
He didn't blow up 3 planets, they blew up 7 planets.
Yeah, they blew up 7 planets.
That's like
Kylo's not a good guy.
General Hux being the spy, even though he straight up like he essentially shot the gun himself that murdered 7 planets.
Exactly.
But yeah, I can see your point. At least in this book,
But
so far, Thrawn is not a bad person.
yes,
Thrawn's not a villain.
I do say he is definitely in my top 10. Let's see. Who would I say my top 5 are? It's Grievous. I love old Kenobi. Obviously, can't go wrong with Kenobi. Darth Bane. But I think Thrawn is definitely up there just because he's so mysterious.
I just think his
Like,
character's just really fleshed out. But
yeah,
it's extremely fleshed out, but also, like you said, it's still mysterious. Like we still don't really know anything about him because they've not established like anything about who the Chiss are. I haven't
yeah,
read the Ascendancy books that are more about. I'm assuming they're about him while he was with the Chiss.
yeah. I haven't read those
Um,
either.
so maybe we know more about the Chiss now. But like the only thing I know about the Chiss is that they're blue with red eyes. You know.
That's about all I know too.
But I feel like his character is pretty fleshed out. I mean, we've got Vader, Han.
Vader.
I would say Thrawn's in my top 5.
Yeah, he's cool. I like his organ theme song too.
Yes,
And the
he just
voice.
appreciates art. He likes art.
Yeah. You ready for the Thrawn show? Or Ahsoka show with Thrawn in it?
I am. So we have to get through this book before the show comes out because then it's gonna blow up.
I think it comes out in
Ooh,
March.
bro, they're definitely if he's in the show, they're gonna make a new Funko Pop of him.
Oh yeah.
I'll get a live action Funko Pop of Thrawn. That'll be dope.
Ahsoka show.
I thought it comes out in the fall.
Debut in 2023. Doesn't say when.
I think it comes out in the fall.
Yeah, late 2023.
Yeah. So it'll come out in the fall. Because Mando season 2 is coming out in the spring. Because they advertised it over Bad Batch and then Bad Batch released and everybody was like, wait, what? Bad Batch? Excuse you? So anyways, we're going off topic. Back
Yes.
to the podcast. Sorry everybody. This is why Robert and I are doing this podcast is because we have a lot to talk about for Star Wars and sometimes we'll go off on tangents. But anyways, so for the next episode, we're going to be reading 6 through 10. We'll have our thoughts, comments, and concerns about those. It's going to start picking up because now we've established everybody. All 3 characters are now established, and now we're jumping into their actions from now on. So, all right.
Yeah.
With
Excited.
that, I mean, I don't think we have a closing thing.
Nah, not yet.